Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we are here for our 100th interview. I am
Woohoo!
so excited. So, before I introduce you to our guest today, I just want to say that this started as just an idea that fell into my lap on March 15th, 2023. And we have not missed a week since. And we have, this is our 100th interview. We have 128 women in the community. We have done 14 panels so far. And we have interviews booked, I believe, into July. And over the last couple of days, I worked out topics for panels into July also.
Mm.
So there's lots of exciting stuff coming. I'm planning some big things for this in 2025 and beyond. And I just want you to celebrate with us. This is a big deal. 100 shows is a big deal. I mean, doing this consistently for all this time, not many people do it. They give up. And it's just been the greatest joy. And I'm so excited to be with you today, Anastasia, and to thank you for being here for the 100th show. I think it's really fitting because we both care so much about visibility and
Mhm.
voices,
Yeah.
speaking and being present. And but before we go any further, let me introduce you. Anastasia Lipske is the founder of Access Speakers, a booking agency for speakers and podcast guests. And she has booked more than 1,800 speaking engagements and podcast interviews on behalf of her clients. I think it would be safe to say that she kind of knows what it takes to be booked. And she also
Indeed.
yeah, I think once you cross over that 1,500 mark, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
She also consults with business owners on how to improve their branding so they're more likely to get booked. And she's an enthusiastic personality, and she has a passion for speaking and guesting on podcasts and inspiring business owners to use one of the most powerful marketing tools out there, their own voice. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so honored to be on this particular episode because I've watched the vision come to fruition, and then to be at this point where we are meeting on the 100th episode, it just means the world to me. And you know what I just thought of?
Mm,
I really wished I had thought to wear one of the tiaras, okay? Because I've got the collection of tiaras. You've got tiaras. You want to get our tiaras? All
yes.
righty. Let's get our tiaras because this is definitely worth celebrating. And
Did I
I have
say
quite, can I put this on with a headset? I don't know. Oh my gosh. For anybody who's listening instead of watching, this is pretty ridiculous. Wait.
you can do it?
Where there's a will, there's a way. There we go.
Yeah,
And
there
this
you
is the
go.
one
There
you
you go.
sent me. This is my
That's the
tiara
one I sent
from
you?
Donna.
Oh,
Yes.
yours is prettier than mine. It's
We
got that
love
tangly
tiaras
thing.
and we love mermaids. And it's
Yeah.
all, yes,
Ooh.
yes. Okay, cool. Groovy. So
Off we
those of you who
go.
can't see, you might want to look it up afterwards, say on
Yeah,
the
head over to
YouTube, so you can
YouTube
see
because,
beautiful
yeah,
tiaras, which
we're
by the
shining.
way, I think this is where it started with you and I, is that I was sharing with you how I wear tiaras. Like some people have driving gloves, I have driving
Mhm.
tiaras. So I've got on my dash, and I have a little sticky thing to help them from sliding off the dash. I have 4 tiaras on my dash. So I and my passengers at any given time can wear it. And if I go 2 blocks, I put my tiara on because it brings me joy.
You
It brings other people joy. And y'all, like I've scored free drinks at Starbucks because somebody's in line, and then I get up there and my drink is paid for because they think it's my birthday or something.
you
Or
know, I'm I'm gonna implement your car tiara, policy because I started doing this in, like, the 1990s. I worked in a law firm, and I was so bored because everybody was so stuffy that I had a box of wax lips in my drawer, and I
oh
had
my
a drawer
gosh.
full of tiaras.
I love
And I
it.
started wearing tiaras at work, and sometimes I'd wear wigs too, and then, I would go out, and I'd forget I had it on, and I'd start going out, like, I'd run out to lunch, I'd run out to the store, I'd go out to do something, and people were just giving me stuff, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, I'm gonna do this all the time." So I never paid to go to the movies, I got into clubs, people bought me
Oh my
drinks.
gosh, I love it. I love it.
I'm starting again. I'm putting this in my car today.
There we go. Yes, and have them for your passengers, it helps.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a few. I have a
I know you
few.
do. Indeed. My
Okay.
granddaughters, they know. They have to wear their tiaras every time they're in the car with me, and we have fun.
Yeah, yeah, nobody's ever in my car, but, I'm gonna wear them. I can use
There
some
you
free
go.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And there can be some more joy spread around. I think people
Yes,
just, um, you know, people just laugh. They see it,
they
they laugh.
do. They totally do. Like, I keep waiting for somebody eventually to put a post on nextdoor.com like, so who
Um,
is this
this
woman
this
who I
crazy
always
woman.
see around town wearing a tiara in her car? Because I'm just so curious. Okay, so now I have
That's
to ask you.
hilarious.
So here's I'm going to sprinkle tips and tricks throughout this whole thing because
Okay.
they come in my mind and I want to share it.
Yeah.
Because I love helping people with getting booked on podcasts, of course, but also, how to show up, things to do, to prepare. And audio quality is very important.
Mhm,
So, and as a host, in fact, Alex Sanfilippo of Podmatch, which I highly
mhm.
recommend, by the way, Podmatch as a matching service for hosts looking for guests and guests looking for hosts. It's an amazing organization. I'm a member myself, but Alex just shared, somebody who just did a talk about the audio quality for hosts and guests, because more often than not, a guest is showing up and they don't have visually, it's not set up and attractive. They don't have
Yeah,
good lighting. They don't have
yeah,
good sound. They don't have a professional microphone. They don't have headphones, like all these things that make a difference
yeah.
to a podcast host. And it's helpful for them to even know in advance that you've got this equipment. Like, I'm going to show up as a professional. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but you
No.
also want to try to control your environment as much as you can. Like, I take the
Mhm,
collars off my dogs so they don't shake
mhm,
and make noise, close the blinds so they can't see the squirrels. I put a sign on my door so no one
mhm,
knocks on it. But you can't control everything. Okay. A fire
mhm.
department might come outside my window right now. So we get to be authentic. But what I'm noticing right now, this incredibly beautiful tiara that you gave me has this dangling jewel, and I can hear it
I
making
can't hear
noise.
it.
You can't
I
hear
can't
it?
hear it.
Okay.
No,
All right.
StreamYard is actually pretty good
Okay.
about
Great.
masking background noises, but, that was actually one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about because, we do a lot of similar work,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
um, people don't prepare. They jump right in to, "I'm gonna get booked, I wanna do this, I wanna do that," and they're not prepared. And,
Yeah.
they either, will land 1 or 2 interviews, and then they
Hmm.
won't land anymore and say it doesn't work, or they won't land
Yeah.
anything. But
Yes.
you have to be prepared, and I call it the head snap moment. Like,
Mm,
in the training that I do with clients, PR is the last thing we do.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you've gotta have all your pieces together. You have to have your messaging and your speaking points and your topics and your backgrounds and your equipment and all of your tiaras.
Exactly. Exactly.
You have to have
Props are
all of
helpful.
these things. Yeah, I mean, you have to have all of these things, and it doesn't need to be hard or and complex, but,
Right.
you've gotta have a before, during, and after the interview plan
Hmm.
of how you're gonna approach this and how you're gonna show up and what you're gonna do with it afterwards, because most people will share that interview once. When you share it more than once, you're already in a whole separate category.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much is happening on YouTube these days.
Yeah.
So, for people who might not be very familiar with the podcasting world, especially in business, just a little, going back a bit, people were using a visual recording, but like StreamYard, but also
Mhm,
just like Zoom. A
mhm.
lot of people will just record on Zoom. And so what they were doing is they were, basically extrapolating the audio out of that interview. And then they would put it out to the RSS feed so it would get to the Apple and Spotify and
Mhm.
all these various podcasting apps, ways that we can take in that audible content. Well, they have this video, right? So many of them realized, well, I might as well put it on YouTube. And they started putting it on YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google. So having a presence on YouTube, because a lot of what podcast guesting is about is increasing your Google juice, air quotes. It's the search engine optimization, SEO, a digital footprint, because this is all shared digitally. It has a lot more reach and it's more evergreen than the traditional speaking, where you might go to, say, a conference, you do a talk in front of those people. It's not recorded, or if it is, it's kept internally. Very rarely do you ever see a speaking engagement being shared publicly. But
Mhm.
in the podcasting world, it is. So I want people to be aware that many of the hosts that invite them to be on their show are very likely to have a visual component. Not all of them are live like what we're doing right now. So if anybody's on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and they're watching us live, yes, then of course they're thinking it's visual. But afterwards, I know you're going to put this up on YouTube. So this is why it's important that you visually have a good professional image, because you're branding yourself in everything that you do. And if you're doing this because you want visibility, you want clients, you want to be seen as an expert in your field, make sure you look like the expert and have everything else, because it is, so many people don't think that it's going to be visual, and it is.
It's visual. This actually streams directly onto Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Awesome. Perfect.
Oh, yeah, it's really
I
good,
love it.
and we get a lot of people watching the replays on YouTube, and
Mhm.
then I also use a tool called Opus Plus to create shorts
Oh,
from the video,
yes.
and, so I'm kind of slowly working my way through that because it's a lot of work.
Of course. Well, you have a lot of interviews under your belt.
Yeah, but what I do is, like, as I do the interviews, I write down keywords of what the guest is saying or what I'm
Mhm.
saying, what's if it's a panel, like, I'll write down, like, their initials next to what they say, and in Opus, what you could do is you could put in keywords, so it will pull the phrases
Oh,
that
wow.
you type in,
Yeah,
so, even with, like, a panel interview, I can pull about 20 different clips from that are formatted, branded, I can do it vertical or horizontally, and it's hard to do the vertical with 6 people, it just doesn't work very
sure,
well.
sure. Yeah.
But even with editing and, going through it and listening to all of the clips, it takes me about 2 hours,
Mhm.
which in the past, that was 4 or 5 hours of work.
Wow. And then you have it.
And to have it,
And
yeah,
and 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 each of
and
the
sharing
people
with
that were in that short, they get to share it too,
yes,
right?
yes.
So the repurposing of content
Mm.
is becoming a bigger part of this, because
Yeah.
this is how you can eke out every bit of exposure from every single interview that a person does, or as a host, same thing. You chop it up and you share it and you get it out to more people that way, because the reality is, we now kind of have the attention span of a gnat.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch long things, but if you can get them to watch that snippet, that very brief trailer, if you will, it oftentimes will draw them into learning more about you, or maybe listening to the entire episode, or at
Mhm.
least being intrigued enough. They might even skip the episode and just go straight to your website and learn about you, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and, I have been a champion of repurposing content for years.
Mhm.
Like, my go-to when I'm creating something is if I can't do 5 things with it, I don't do it
I love that. Yeah.
because, it all takes time,
Yep.
and it used to take more time.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I like Opus. I've never heard of Opus before, so that's a
Yeah.
really awesome tool.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great tool, and you can I also use Descript,
Okay.
and you can you can pull clips into script also, but Opus does a better job, and it's
Beautiful.
really affordable. So they always have specials too,
Awesome. Okay.
and super easy to use. They keep adding stuff to it, so you can like add transitions now and music and intros and outros and all of these different things. So it's really powerful,
Hmm.
and you could do different things with one clip. Like you
Yeah.
can create several different experiences with one clip with what you put around it. And when you do that, and then you tag the host of a show, or you tag somebody that, it could even be a quote. You can like just flash a quote in between two clips and then tag
Hmm.
the person who quoted it. And that's a great way to start building a relationship with that person. But it's all
Yes.
about, creating these connections. And I love that more people are repurposing content.
Yeah.
So that was another thing on my list I wanted to talk to you about. So, so one of the other things that I have on my list is like, how do you help people find their voice?
Mm. Well, the first thing is that a person needs to feel that their voice matters, and I think that that's the most important thing, because if you don't feel that it matters or that you can make a difference with your voice, you're not going to have a drive, if you will, to get it out there. And I feel like it's very hard sometimes for us to use our voice for so many reasons, right?
Mhm,
We can go back to our childhood. Uh, I my whole life I've had my family tell me that I talk too much, and it still to this day still hurts
mhm,
when I can hear that, because it's now kind of become like the family joke. Well, that's because I was the youngest of four children. I could never get my voice out there. I was outgunned, Daddy-O. In fact, I don't remember this, but apparently there was a time period as a child that I stood on in the middle of the dining room table to get their attention because nobody would let me talk. So I have these things, right? That may, and every one of us might have our stories. Like, what was it? What was it that might have happened in our lives that stopped
mhm,
us from using our voice, or affected us in some way? And I'm not saying that anybody needs to, do deep trauma search or whatever. And you
mhm,
certainly don't turn it into something that you don't need to, unless you need healing from it. But recognize it. Like, is there something that might be stopping me? But
mhm.
having that understanding that you have something of value, then the key thing is, what's going to happen if I don't share it? So
Yeah.
for many people, it's hard, especially business women. I feel like we struggle with it more. The asking someone to work with you, asking someone to maybe follow up, or maybe if you have a soft offer that you're going to make at the end of a presentation or
Mm,
something like that, we struggle with the ask, or we struggle with asking to be visible, asking to be on a show. We struggle with asking to be a speaker because we have these various things, imposter syndrome, other things that might pop up for us. But what I like to tell people is that if we don't ask, and if we don't get out there and we start don't use our voice, we don't amplify it to more people, and yet what we have to share is of value, I honestly feel people are doing a disservice to the world.
mm,
It's like if you had the cure for cancer and then you kept it to yourself. I'm not
yeah,
saying like what I talk about is as monumental as curing cancer, but I do know that what I share does make a difference.
yeah.
And so I get to pull myself away from it and consider the fact that if I can bless others by sharing what it is that I share, then I almost feel obligated to do it. I
Mhm,
honestly don't enjoy it. I love having conversations. I don't enjoy speaking. I do enjoy myself once I get talking in a podcast interview, but up to it, I do tend to stress out a bit because I want everything so perfect. But yet at the end of the day, I know that I'm making a difference and I can reach more people this way because it amplifies the voice. We're not just in a box. We've got, a megaphone, if you will, to the world.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Do you notice any difference when you're working with clients that are, mid-age or under mid-age?
Um,
With their fear of being visible.
yeah, honestly, I feel they do not struggle with it as much as people that are my age on up. I'm 63 right now. Well, yes and no. It's interesting. I feel like they're more comfortable in the digital settings because they
Mhm.
were raised with technology that we weren't raised with. But there's also something that comes from being in the better half of our lives, and that's confidence. I mean, it's funny. I actually feel really bad sometimes because I don't want to be like when Harry met Sally, but I'm telling you, when I order things, I'm really specific in what I want because I've realized after 63 years, I'm going to ask for what I want. And the vast majority of the time, they absolutely don't mind. I share my thoughts with people more easily now. And I get it. Like I remember as a younger person seeing older people and how they would say things, and I'd be like,
Mhm.
dang, I would never say that. Right? But I'm going to start wearing purple pretty soon, and I'm just speaking it like it is. For one thing, life is short, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go. Dad died at 56. I could go at any moment. I mean,
Right.
I don't like green bananas, right? I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know what the Lord's going to bring for me tomorrow. So why am I going to keep these things in for myself? So I see the younger generations having an easier time and yet a harder time because they struggle with insecurities and imposter
Mm.
syndrome and all those things as much as we do. I feel like they've become very safe in the digital world, which is why the digital space can get so ugly because people they lose etiquette and they say things digitally that they would never say in
Yeah.
person. But
Yeah.
that's starting to build, and I feel like people are becoming a little desensitized, and I'm starting to see people sharing things in person that maybe 20, 30 years ago people wouldn't have done. So I honestly, I do have a little concern for the future because yes, we get to use our voice, but are we edifying others with our
Mm.
voice? Are we bringing them down? Are we gossiping? Are we being negative? Are we making them uncomfortable? Are we speaking just because we want to be heard as opposed to making a difference? So there's a lot around using the voice. I feel like there's a big responsibility around using the voice. When we step into this space and we start amplifying it, it's really important that we be aware of how our voice may affect other people.
Yeah.
This is why it's also really important that you be very discerning in where you use your voice. So I do see a lot of people, they'll say, okay, I gotta do this podcast guesting thing, right? Because everybody's talking about it. Like it's the latest, thing since sliced bread. And I need to get my voice out there. I'm just going to get on every single podcast I possibly can. And they start getting out there on mismatched shows.
And it's like
And
that's what I was saying before, they're not prepared.
they're
You
not
have to yeah,
prepared.
you have to understand your story, your audience, what you do for them. All of
Yes.
those things need to be thought out before you start pitching yourself. You
Yeah.
need to listen to the show.
My gosh. You know what? I am astounded, absolutely astounded at how many people do not listen to a show before they say yes if they're invited, or more importantly, before they
Before they
pitch
pitch.
themselves. Again, air quotes.
Yeah.
My agency, we actually don't use the word pitch.
No.
I'm not in any way dissing other people who use it. Okay. Some people, that's their platform, and I get it. I don't care for it. It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah,
We
because
sent
it's like
we sent
building
proposals.
yeah. It's like building relationships. I mean, it's such an
Yes.
opportunity. I mean, I've done PR for years. I know you have too. And
Yeah.
whenever like a really small solo business owner like us comes to me and wants me to do their PR, I'm like, you're
Mhm.
missing so much.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
learn how to do this, learn what even if you're not gonna do all of it, like, learn how it works, because
Yeah.
this is the opportunity to build relationships in such a meaningful way.
Oh my gosh, yes. It is about the relationships.
Yeah,
This is relationship marketing.
it
And
totally is,
I count, yeah.
and once you start to build those relationships, you don't need a lot, you need a handful, and then they open up so many more, because it's such
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
tight-knit community in the
Yeah.
media or podcasts or live streams, wherever people are sharing other people,
Mhm.
they're always looking for good people. So,
Yes.
you get passed around.
Yes, absolutely. There's a term in the podcasting world, host ghosting,
Mhm,
and that's basically when a guest gets booked, they show up, they do their thing in the interview. It's like a wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
mhm,
The host never hears from them again. They don't share it, they don't stay in touch. They didn't connect with the host ahead of time to start building that relationship. And it makes a host feel used and abused. And I
mhm.
honestly don't feel that people are doing it intentionally. I believe that people don't understand the importance
Yes.
of this. So I want to, impress upon you, dear listener, um, if you are using podcast guesting, I want you to understand that a host goes through an immense amount of energy, time, expense to create a platform for you to use to get your voice out there. The least that you can do is to reciprocate by being a blessing to them, by blessing them, sharing the show, by engaging with them, developing a relationship. I actually have a podcast guesting checklist that I created that has all these steps before, during, and after. If a
Mhm.
person wants to get the most out of every interview they do, in fact, I recommend people do less interviews, but do the ones that they do it right. And they
Yeah.
check off all those boxes. So, as an example, just this morning, Heather Eck, one of my clients whom I adore, I adore all my clients, but Heather really, really, really gets it with the relationship marketing. In fact,
Mhm.
she and I, when I was working on this checklist, I ran it by her first to kind of beta test it. She made some tweaks, sent it back to me, and now we have the final version that I'm very happy with. But I just saw her, she tagged me in a post where she was resharing a post from Deborah Eckerling. Okay, so Deborah Eckerling, who I know you know, and by the way, Heather is an Innovation Women member. I am an
Mhm.
Innovation Women member. Deborah, I met her through Innovation Women. So I had booked her on Deborah's show, Gold Chat Live, and I didn't realize until this post that Heather and Deborah were collaborating on things together as a result of that. Another host that I had booked her with, Rose Whippich of the Chat Off the Mat. She and the two of them have created like these card decks together, and they do collaborative efforts, things, all these beautiful things. And I love seeing women in the Innovation Women
Mhm.
community doing things. But it wasn't just through that community, it was through the actual guesting. And
Yeah.
that's because Heather gets it. She
Mhm.
checks off the boxes on my checklist. She
Yeah.
makes sure that she's engaging with these hosts even before she's on the interview. So imagine if a person gets booked, one of the first things you want to do is you want to follow that host on social media. Now, I'm only on LinkedIn. So if anybody reaches out to me on any other socials, they're not going to see me there. My only social sandbox is LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, I will click on the notify bell of that host. So I start seeing things that they're posting. I engage with the posts of that host so that they can see my name and that little picture of me. And
Mhm.
by the time we get to the interview, because most often when you schedule an interview, it's at least weeks, if not months in advance. Meanwhile, that host starts to see me. They see my name, they see my picture, they see that I engage with them, they see that I'm a giver. And when I show up for that interview, they feel like they know me. And that's
Yeah.
a very different end result of that conversation than two total strangers coming together.
Mhm. Yep, and I will just add
Beautiful.
on to that. another thing I've been saying for years that is now becoming popular. Commenting is a strategy.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is.
I mean, if you've got nothing to
Yeah,
say,
it
don't
is.
post, just comment.
Absolutely. That's how you stay on people's radar. And
Yeah,
not just now, 6
all the
months after the
time.
fact.
Yeah.
You know,
I have been on podcasts where I got clients from being a guest on this podcast 4 years after the interview.
I believe it. I
Because I
believe it.
keep sharing them. I keep sharing them. I keep the
Yeah.
relationship open. I had and it was the same podcast I was on. She actually invited me back, like, 2 years later because she
Nice.
wanted to, I forget what she wanted to do. I don't it was a while ago, but she wanted to do more of something I was doing a lot of at the time,
Uh-huh.
and she had me coach her live on her podcast.
Oh, I love it. I love
But sh
it.
but that was because I stayed connected. She would have forgot about
Yes.
me.
Yes. Well, if okay, so let's say it's a weekly show, right?
Mhm.
That means that host talks with 52 people in a year.
Yeah.
How are they possibly going to remember all their people? I mean, they might have a vague recollection of it, but if you stay on their radar, they're going to remember you and they become your best fan because
Ex
it may be 3 months after the fact, because you're still on their radar, that they have a guest that they're talking to and they realize, oh my gosh, you need to meet Anastasia because she does this to help people get booked on podcasts, right? Or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Or it may be someone that they know personally. It might not even have anything to do with someone that's on their show, but the vast majority of the people who are doing a podcast show, this is not their day job. Okay, they're
No.
doing this on the side. So again, remember, y'all, be kind and bless these people because they're doing it on top of their daily
Mhm.
life and work.
Yeah.
So it may be that they meet somebody in business that needs what it is that you offer, that solution, and they're going to remember you because you stayed engaged.
It really is like the most cherished way to
Mm,
stay top of mind. It
yeah.
really is, and also to, inspire word of mouth
Hmm.
marketing, which is the most powerful kind of marketing, and it's the kind that no technology is ever gonna take over because it's from building
No,
relationship.
not at all. I love
It's
that word
from
cherished.
Yeah, and it really is, and, I mean, I've been at this 18 years now in my own business, and I never did advertising. Everything has been
Mm,
through relationships. All the stuff we're
yes.
talking about, I have done since, like, 2010. So, and I know you have too. It's been
Yeah.
years, and, this is the stuff that stands the test of time. This
Hmm.
is the stuff that doesn't change, and
Right.
this is where you really need to focus your efforts because the
Yeah.
other stuff is gonna change, and you're not gonna have a choice but to change with it.
Hmm.
But when you focus the majority of what you do around the things that don't change, those are the things that really matter.
Excuse me.
There
Yeah.
aren't there aren't a lot of people doing that, and I
No.
don't think there ever will be because I haven't seen it.
No. No. But it does become more important. And
Yeah,
I think when you do these things this way, in the long run, you do get noticed. I mean, I too, every client has come to me through referrals.
but it's
And
even more than that. You get noticed by the right people.
yes, yes.
It's not
People
just
that you're
people.
aligned with. People
Exactly,
that
'cause
you're
they
aligned
hear
with.
you. They
Yes.
magically hear you through the noise and the static and the tools
Yeah.
and the hacks and all of that, that whole sea. They hear
Hmm.
you through that. I don't know how it happens, but it works. And, it always surprises me and pleases me when I see that happen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it really okay, so we have plowed through this half an hour. Um, I like to end these with, a wisdom bomb, like asking guests to share something actionable and meaningful that people could take with them,
Hmm.
and, we didn't even talk about Brooklyn. We're gonna have to have another interview.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go for 200. Yeah. No, So the first thing, of course, is use your voice. I mean, I've already shared what my biggest nugget is always, if you have something to share, please do amplify it, bless others. But the main thing that I like people to remember is the blessing part.
Mhm.
Be the type of a guest or a speaker, because all of this is applicable in the speaking world too. I know we're talking more podcasting because we're kind of in a podcasting environment right now, right? But be the type of person that is going to, they're going to fall in love with. They're going to invite you back. They're going to tell other hosts or event planners about you. They're going to introduce you to people. They're going to promote you more. So one thing to keep in mind also is that a host could promote you more than their other guests because they like you so much and because you continue to share it and promote it. So you can get a lot more visibility by doing that. But more than anything, I think it comes from the heart. That host, that event planner, you don't want to be that diva speaker that asks for all these things and doesn't give back. It's always coming from the space of, how can I make your job easier so that everybody loves the fact that you brought me on as a speaker for this conference, right? Is there anything I can do to support you in that? How can I support you as a host to make sure that this is the best interview and get the message out there? These are things that we get to do from the viewpoint of how do we serve others, not because we're doing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Time is the most precious resource any one of us have. So what can we do to make sure that anyone who is listening, and to anyone who's still listening to this, thank you. I appreciate you being with us. But what can you do to ensure that someone will stay to the end of the interview? What can you do to make sure that when a person sees you speaking at a meeting and when they walk away, are they going to say, my time was just well spent? I learned something that was valuable, as opposed to walking out and saying, oh my gosh, I wish I had spent that time doing XYZ. So what can we do to be that blessing for others? And when we bless others first, the blessings come to us in return. It just
It's a
does.
circle.
Yep.
It's a circle. So don't break the circle.
Don't break the circle. Yes.
Well, thank you so
Will
much for being here
circle
today.
be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. Now this can be like an earworm all day.
Thank you for
Oh,
being here
thank you.
for our 100th interview.
Woohoo!
And thank you for being a champion of blessings and amplifying voices
Mm,
and being a shepherd of doing things better.
thank you. It's my
I should
honor,
say
truly.
empress. Empress, not a shepherd. You're wearing a tiara.
Yes, I am. Oh, wait, let me take a screencast of us really quick. I need to get this. Okay,
All right.
hang on one second. Hopefully that took. I hope it
Okay.
took.
All right. Well,
Something,
we have
yeah.
the recording. We have the
Okay.
recording. But anyway, thank you all for
Mwah.
celebrating with us. 100
Thank
interviews,
you.
more to come.
Yes,
Happy holidays.
I
This is
can't wait.
also the last interview for 2024. We are going to take a couple of weeks off because the holidays just happen to fall on Wednesdays. But
Perfect.
we'll be back in January with with all of it, weekly interviews and monthly panels and lots of incredibly remarkable, wonderful women. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your stories. And be happy and healthy and safe in the new year.
Indeed. Thank you, Donna. It was an honor and a privilege. And to everyone who is watching and or listening to this, please give Donna the blessing of sharing it, because this is how she can get her voice amplified, as well as all the women that she's pulled together these last 100 interviews and more to come. So,
Thank
and
you.
I will see you in the new year, my dear one.
Yes. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.